What is an aside? An aside is a technique utilized in many plays, and more recently, film comedies. K-12 Reader describes an aside as a device that playwrights and filmmakers use in order to reveal inner thoughts and judgments of characters directly to the audience. Basically, an aside is when a character in the play or film will turn to the audience and comment on what's happening or what they're thinking. The other characters in the scene don't hear this, and it's usually used to give information about what's going on, but has been used for comedic purposes like this.
Possibly be expected to handle school on a day like this.
A character has to be looking directly at the audience or camera. If a character is visibly not looking at the audience, it does not qualify as an aside.
The road to power is paved with hypocrisy and casualties. Never regret.
Notice how he's looking away from the camera for most of the dialogue, but the direct look at the end qualifies it as an aside. Shakespeare was an avid fan of asides. He enjoyed using them as a way to convey a character's true feelings in an obvious way. He achieved this by adding them into tense and/or confusing moments in the play. In Hamlet, the aside is used multiple times by different characters. For example, the first aside found is in Act 1, Scene 2. Hamlet reads, "A little more kin and less than kind," while speaking about his uncle who murdered his father, married his mother, and became king. Later in the play, that king reveals in an aside how guilty he feels about the whole situation. He reads, "Oh, 'tis too true, how smart a lash that speech doth give me conscious. The harlot's cheek, beautied with plastering art, is not more ugly to the things that helps it, than is my deed to my most painted word. Oh, heavy burden." And in the final act of the play, during the fencing scene between Laertes and Hamlet, the queen drinks a poisoned cup of tea that was meant for Hamlet. In the heat of the moment, Laertes had a poison-tipped sword and said he would hit Hamlet now, but in an aside he proclaims, "And yet 'tis almost against my conscience." This comment allows the audience to know his true feelings towards the situation. Asides are not commonly found in today's day and age, and most people don't see plays. But there are plenty of TV shows, movies, animations, and comics that have found value in utilizing asides. In the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Ferris begins the movie talking directly to the audience, and more asides can be found all throughout the movie. One of the most recent examples of an aside comes from the Netflix remake of the British show House of Cards. In the original, the main character would fill the audience in with regards to what's taking place, and Netflix stuck true to that with its remake. And in Malcolm in the Middle, Malcolm, the middle child in a children's TV comedy, uses asides multiple times in an episode to add comedic value.
You boys like to keep it interesting, don't you?
We kind of have a history here.
So really, what is an aside? Well, it's a technique used by great writers like Shakespeare to convey a character's true thoughts or the actual mood behind the scene by having the characters address the audience directly.